Hi guys, my name is Chad Trofgruben, and this course is all about creating characters inside of Adobe Animate. I originally launched this course on Udemy way back in 2019. However, it still contains a lot of useful information and still rates pretty highly on Udemy. I'll be launching one chapter a week, and if you wish to view the course in one shot or gain access to the exercise files, you can always check out the Udemy course, which is linked in the description. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something. For this video, we are working off of 15 Chad Vector Animate. Feel free to open up this file. We're now going to dive in and tackle the eyes. And we'll be using a masking technique to help us build up the eyes. But first, we'll lay down all of our layers so that way we have an easier time setting things up so we don't have to go in and lock individual layers to see the masking take shape. So to begin, I want to come over here to the layers and locate the head. So just click once on the head, and then we can come up here and create a new layer. And I'll double click on this and name it eyeball. Now I'm also going to put F in front of it, so front.eyebrow, and then hit enter. So that way we understand which eye this particular layer is going to belong to. So with that, we have the eyeball ready to go. We can come in here and grab the shape tool, which is the oval tool for us. And in our properties, you can see we have the line work set up how we want it. We can go in here and change our width profile, so that way we're good to go there. And we want a black outline with a white fill color. Now, of course, if you're designing, let's say, an alien or a monster, you might not want white. And again, totally your discretion. So here we'll start. And again, this will be the eyeball closest to us. When I draw out the shape, I can hold down Shift to create a perfect circle, just like this. And I'm just going to simply eyeball the reference. We could also bring in the sketch and line it up if we wish, but this should be about right, and I can release. I'm going to hit the V key so I can select things, bring up the front eyeball just by clicking on that layer, and we're just going to move it down a little bit. Now again, if we look at the reference, you can see that the eyeball comes down and almost matches the ear in some cases. So maybe right about there, and we can put it so that it's just skirting the start of the shading effect. So once we have that, we can release, and we now have something like this. Next, we can go in and draw the eyelids as well as the pupil. On that front eyeball layer, we can create a new layer. It'll place it right above. I'll come in and just name this f.pupil. Hit enter. Hit O to bring up the oval tool once again. This time we want to go in and select a black fill color. And just for now, we're going to go in and disable the stroke. So click on the stroke color and then choose the transparent option. And then we can come down here using Control or Command to zoom in with our mouse wheel. And we're just going to place a pupil right in the center. Just click and drag, and there you go. With the pupils in place, we can move on and add the eyelids. We'll make a new layer once again. Name this one f.top lid and hit enter. For this, we can choose either the line tool or the oval tool. If we use the oval tool, it might actually go a little bit quicker. So we'll just click on that. And since we're filling in as we move along here, we might as well keep with that. So let's just hit I really quick, and using the eyedropper, select the lid color here for this character. And if you can't quite get that color, another thing you can do is select the face color of the character. Let's make sure we unlock this so that way we can do that. And then come over here to the fill color and then click on this color wheel right here. And this will allow us to come in here. Let me just select the appropriate one. So if we click on the B option, that will allow us to come down and change the way this looks in terms of brightness. And we want the eyelids to be darker. So I can just bring it down to about that and click OK. And we can use that, or again, you can just eyedropper, however you wish to do it. So now with that, we can hit O to bring up the oval tool. We're just going to draw over the eyeball, just like this, coming down to about right here. And if you don't like the way this is snapping, I can just undo this, come over here and click off of the magnetic option, come back here and just try that again. So now we can easily place this so it's more centered within the eye and release. So now I'm going to do the same thing for the bottom lid really quick. Just make a new layer, double click on layer 4 to name it front bottom lid. I guess you could also do f.b.lid or f.t.lid, however you wish to go about it. But once you have that set up the way it should be, making sure I spell this right, we can add in that bottom lid. Once again, using the oval tool, the same color as before, I can come in here and just put it over like that and release. Now looking at the lids, it appears that they are bowing in versus out. So let's grab the selection tool here, and I can come in and just bend these the way that they should go. Now you can see as I'm doing this, we are basically losing the lid itself. It's going all the way down like that. So I'm going to just grab that bottom lid to start here and just bring it up a little bit more, and then come in to shape it up. So maybe move down a bit like this, and that should give us a pretty good indicator of what we want to do. You can also come in here and grab these points and bring them up as well, if you feel that's needed. And it might be best to lock the head at this point, so that way we don't accidentally move that around. But you can just come in here and mold this and get it to where you need it to be. Again, don't pay too much attention to the bottom portion of the lid. You're more concerned with this portion right here, as the bottom portion will soon be masked out. And the same can go for the top here. As you can see, I'm raising it up. We're kind of missing some of the lid, so I'm just going to bring this down more like so. Bring this up a little bit. And then come in and bring this up as well. So now you have something that looks like this, and it's starting to shape up. Again, it looks a little bit different compared to the original. The pupil is bigger and all that, but we can also adjust that if we feel it's needed. So now we have the front eye in place. We'll pause here, and up next, we'll mask it, add some shading and highlights, and then duplicate it. For this video, we're working off of 16 Chad Vector Animate. Feel free to open up this file. We're now going to start by masking the front eye that we designed in the previous video. To do this, we need to first come over and find the eyeball. The eyeball is going to act as our boundary in this case. So, with the eyeball selected, we're going to right-click and then choose to duplicate the layers. We'll grab this copy and bring it up to the top, and I can double-click and name this one f.eye. Once we have renamed it, right-click and then choose Mask. You'll see it automatically takes the layer below this and puts it into the mask, and it's already working with that bottom lid. You can see that the boundaries are in place. So we want to grab the front top lid, hold in Shift, click on front eyeball, click and drag, and then bring this under the front bottom lid so that it indents like so. Now, looking at this, you're going to think, well, that didn't work. Look at what it's doing. The thing about masking in Animate is you need to lock all of your symbols that are being masked in order to see the result. And as you can see right here, we can now see that result. There is one thing we are missing, and that is the outline of the eyeball. One thing we can do as a quick fix is to come over here. Let's unlock the front eyeball. We're going to duplicate this once again. Bring it all the way to the top of the mask list. And we're just going to double click. I'll rename it to Front Eye Outline. And once we have that, let's make sure we lock all the other layers except for that outline layer. Let's make sure we hide the mask, so we can come over here and click on the front eye outlines fill and then delete. So now if we bring back the mask and lock everything, you can see the outline is in place and we now have something that's masked and not looking too shabby. So from here, we can come in and create a second eye simply by duplicating the first and then moving it over and making some little tweaks. But first, let's add a little bit of shading and highlighting to the eye, just so we have a little bit of depth to this. So I'm just going to zoom in. Let's first look at the pupil. I can just unlock that. And again, if you're having issues, let's just hide everything with that eye except the pupil, so that way the masking doesn't get in the way of visibility. And we're going to grab the oval tool, go to your stroke, and we're just going to reduce that so that we either can't see it, so that it's 0, or you can change it to transparent. And we want the fill color to be white. So I'm going to zoom in pretty far here, hold down Shift, and just come in and draw out a little highlight like that for the pupil. Next, we're going to apply some highlighting to the eyelids. And so I have the two eyelids brought up here so I can see them. I'm going to start with the bottom lid. It's unlocked and it's visible, so I can see what's going on here. And I'm just going to come down here with my brush and try to add in a nice tapered effect like so. I'm using the paint within the shape option. So if I come down here to brush mode, you can see I'm doing paint inside, and I have my transparency set to 40 and the color is white. So we have this here to start, and then I can unlock this lid right here, and we're just going to come up and draw things in like so. I seem to be having some issues here with that brush mode, so let's just come in and let's try paint fills and see what it does. There we go. That's looking a little bit better. Let's just come in here and we can kind of try to eyeball this and get it to go up like so. Now the highlights seem a little bit too bright, and that might just be based on kind of what's going on here. Let me just grab that color by clicking on it with my selection tool, and we can adjust the opacity even more if we want to. So if I come in, I lower the opacity to about 17%, maybe go a little bit less to about 10. That should help. And then come down, and we can do the same for the bottom one like that. So now with the bottom lid and the top lid both have a highlight on them. And if we come in here and we were to just lock everything back up and make sure we can reveal everything here, we can see what this currently looks like. Now again, those highlights are a little bit too bright for my taste. Let me just come back here and hide the masks and come back and grab that highlight once again. And I think it's just the way the mask is working with the highlight. It seems like it's working until we lock the mask. And just to avoid any more real issues with this, I'm just going to grab the eyedropper tool, select the eyelid, but that little portion is still selected so we can adjust it. And then come in here to the fill colors, click on the color wheel, make sure we have the B option selected, and I'm just going to raise this up, this color, so that way we can create a highlight just using those colors. So now if I click OK, that's looking a little bit better. I can unlock the top lid and come over here, and let's do the same. So once again, hit the eyedropper, just bring that color over, and then we can lock these once again. And that's looking a little bit better now. We could also add some shading to this, but I think just the highlights should work. So now I'm just going to zoom out here a little bit, and we can grab all of these layers making up the front eye, the mask, and everything underneath. So I'm going to unlock all of this and then hold in Shift while I click to select all of these pieces and then we're going to right click and then choose to duplicate layers. From here, we're going to take the copies and bring it below the front eye, just like that. And then with all that still selected, I'm going to grab the selection tool and bring it over like so. From here, if we need to resize or anything like that, we can. It looks like we probably will have to, but let's first lock everything just so we can see what this looks like. And actually, it probably won't be as big of a deal as I was thinking it would be. We just need to go in and do just a little bit of resizing. So let's unlock all those eye pieces once again, and we're going to select both sections of the eyes, just like that. And hitting Q on the keyboard, we can bring up the free transform tool. I'm just going to hold in Shift so I can do a uniform scale, and I'm just going to kick it back a little bit, about like so, and then we can lock all this again, and let's see what it's going to do now. I think that's probably a better size for the eyes. What I might do now is just make some final adjustments, such as spacing this and moving things around just a little bit more. Let's grab all these eyes, and I'm just going to bring everything down. Let's make sure we unlock front eye there so we can move it. And I'm just going to come in here, and first I want to move the front eye so that it's closer to the shading like it was originally. And I'm just going to lower this a little bit like so. And then we can grab the front eye copy and just bring it more this way like so. Now I can come in here and lock these. It's looking a little bit more convincing. Now the spacing, I would say, is a little bit too much. But again, we can keep playing with this. It's harder to work with when you have to always go in and lock the masks, but just kind of part of the process when you're in Animate CC. I'm just going to bring this up a little bit more, just a little bit bigger, and we can come in and kick back this eye just a little bit like so. Come over here to the other one. Let's move it forward a little bit like that. And we're going to lock everything. And that's looking closer to the original. And again, it doesn't have to be verbatim. The image we're looking at is just a reference, and that means we can adjust it however we see fit as we continue along here. But I think having a border right there is a good idea. And then the front eye, I might just move then a little to the left. Just a little bit away from the shading. There we go. I would say that's looking a little bit better. The only other thing I'm noticing is I wish my highlights were bowed the other way. You can see they're bowing towards the right. I kind of want them to bow towards the left. Just kind of seems to make sense with how the light is currently facing and what we're doing with the highlights. So we're just going to unlock all those layers one more time. I'm going to select all those layers. We'll go up to Modify, Transform, and then choose to flip horizontally. So now if I come in and we lock everything, I would say that's looking a little bit more convincing. Again, this is something you could probably work on all day, but I'm just going to hide some things here and move down to the lids. I'm just going to grab this and kind of move it over a little bit like that. Same with this. Just kind of move it over. I don't care so much about the bottom line as I do the top. So if the highlight goes over that line, it's not a big deal because that line's hidden. And then I'm just going to eyedropper and then fill in these two spots that need it. And if you're having a hard time filling in, remember you can always come down here. And let's just close large gaps and see what that does. There we go. So now we have those highlights there. And we could go in and maybe polish them up just a titch. Let's just grab a smaller brush here. And I can just come in and try to paint over this as best as I can. Let's, of course, make sure we are on the right layer when we're doing that. And I was like, why can't I color that in? Well, it's because I was on the wrong layer. Okay. So come up like that. And just try to fill this in as best as we can, just to kind of help with that shape a little bit more. There we are. And again, I'm using paint fills so that way I don't accidentally override that line. It's looking a little bit better. And I can go to the top lid, kind of do the same thing. Just kind of come in here and using a very small brush, just try to smooth some stuff over so that looks a little bit more presentable. There we are. And again, this is something you could spend a long time on, trying to get everything just the way you want it. But I think this is pretty good. And then I can lock all of this and make sure I reveal what needs to be revealed. And then zoom out like this, and you can see that the highlights are a little bit different now, and that kind of also helps with variety. And then we have this little piece sticking out right here. Just gonna hide some stuff here to see what that's doing. I see there's this little piece right there that's kind of interfering. So I'm just gonna go in and make sure I clean that stuff up just a little bit. And then we can bring everything back, reveal it, lock it, do all that fun stuff. And that's looking better. So now we have the highlight there, we have the highlight there. It's a little bit different, a little bit offset, but I think it's going to help with variety and it's going to look pretty good. The final thing I'm going to do before I wrap up this video, because I'm sure it's already quite long, is I want to come into that back eye. So make sure we have that one right there. We're going to hit Q, and I'm just going to resize it slightly. Not much, just a little bit, about like that. So that way we have that little bit of difference. And then I want to make sure I bring, since I transformed and flipped everything, the front eye is now actually the back eye. So I'm going to bring that down and come in here and quickly rename all this so that way we understand what we are looking at here. So I'm just going to switch all the B's to F's. Just like that. And we can go in and remove the copy on these other names like this. In order to rename something, you just double click. It'll allow you to do that, and then you can go in here and clean up your names. And I recommend you do, and we are going to be doing some more layer cleanup here because it is important to keep your layers organized. Okay, so now with all that, we're just going to make sure we lock all this, and that is looking pretty good. So with the eyes now masked and set up and highlighted, we can pause here, and up next, focus on drawing the eyebrows and the nose. For this video, we are working off of 17 Chad Vector Animate. Feel free to open up this file. It's time to go in and add in some eyebrows and the nose for the character. We'll start with the front eyebrow first. We are on the front eye layer. So let's go up and make a new layer, and we're going to name this one Front Eyebrow, or F.EB will work for our case. And once we have that, we can move in with our tool of choice. I'm just going to use the line tool for this, as we've been pretty consistent with that. And we're just going to zoom in, holding in Control or Command, and using the mouse wheel. Now, the design of the eyebrow is pretty simple. You can see it's right here. I'm just going to make my way to the front eye. And I can start by coming up like this. And I do have magnetics turned on, so let's make sure that is actually turned on. And we can click and drag and come down like so. Come over like this. And at this point, the magnetics might be a little bit hard to control, but as long as you get it pretty close, you should be fine. And then click and drag, and we'll come over and attach like so. Hit V on the keyboard to bring up your selection tool, and we can start to adjust how all this is going to look. So kind of come down like that. And I'm just going to turn off magnetics for a moment. And also let's lock the head so that way we don't accidentally select it. And we're just going to start bowing things up just a little bit. We still want a little bit of a point to all this, but if we come in here and just adjust this like so, maybe bow that middle portion up even more, bring this portion up as well, that should help with what we're trying to do here. So now we can color this in, and the eyebrow is darker in the original. So we can do the same thing here. We can either eyedropper that color, or I can just eyedropper the hair. Of course, make sure the hair is unlocked if you do that, so that way you can actually sample the color. Come over here to your fill color and click on the color wheel, and making sure we have B selected, I'm just going to drop the brightness down and click OK. And then using K on the keyboard, I can select the paint bucket tool and make sure that we are on the front eyebrow layer and paint in like so. So now I'm just going to copy this layer and bring it over and do the same thing on the other side, except tweak it slightly. So I can right click and choose to duplicate the front eyebrow. We can rename it to back eyebrow. And then with the selection tool, I'm just going to move this over. And first things first, let's go to modify, transform, and then we're going to flip horizontally. Now here, if we take a look at the eyebrow, we can kind of see what it's doing. And it's pretty much a mirrored effect of the first, but we could go in and make some tweaks if we feel it's necessary. Since that eye is a little bit smaller compared to the first, I could also come in here and maybe just adjust the size slightly like so. Kick it back like that. And now you have your eyebrows in place. You could go in if you wanted to and add some shading and highlighting to it, but I think we should be okay. We can now move over and tackle the nose. Now, the nose isn't probably going to be doing anything special for our animation purposes. It really just needs to be attached to the head. And with that in mind, I'm going to just draw it right on the head. So we'll select the head, and I'll grab my line tool, making sure I have everything set up here, and it looks like it is. I'm just going to come in. We'll draw a line going down like so. Try that one more time. I can hold in Shift when drawing the line down to get a perfectly straight line. That'll probably work a little bit better for me. Next, let's turn on Snap to Objects. I can come in here and just add a little line like that. Come over here, add a line like so. Maybe going down a little bit like that. And then over one more time. Go back here and let's make sure magnetics is turned off. We're going to hit V for the selection tool and just start rounding off these little portions right here. Move this up a bit. Just start to kind of shape this up and get it closer to what we originally want here. So kind of come in like that. Just keep rounding it up until you get it exactly how you want it. And I might just kick this back a little bit and drop the roundness of it. And also looking at this, I can come in and maybe just drop the line width slightly just so it looks a little bit more in line. Kind of bring it up more like that. And we can just keep modifying this until we get it round and looking how we want it to look. And actually, I might come in and just disable the width profile on that one. And then come back and let's try kicking that back to 6.5 and just see how it looks. And I think that's a little bit better. Again, we can play around with the different line widths here. Maybe I'll come in and try something like this. There we go. That's looking a little bit better. Just kind of making sure it looks connected. And that's not too bad. Again, I feel like I could play with this all day, you know, like anything. It's just, you could put in so much time into it and just sit here all day and just move lines around. And it's really just all part of the process. But there we go. That's looking pretty good. We could also go in if we wanted to, really quick, also on the head. Just use the eyedropper. I could eyedropper that color. Just come over here with my brush. And we could just add a little highlight to the nose. Let's increase the brush size a bit. So something like that. That should help, of course, with the highlights. You could also come in here and add like a little highlight like that if you wanted to as well. Okay, so now we have the eyebrows and nose in place. I'm going to pause here, and up next, we can move on to constructing the mouth.